Is there any sound? We're just checking the sound now, if you could bear with us a moment. No sound. Yeah, the sound's good now, so apologies, we can carry on.
Well, I think as Luke said, we probably will have to start from the beginning again if we did. Did we lose the sound all the way through, Lynn? You're on mute, Lynn.
Sorry. Yes, the sound's working now, so yeah, if we can just start again. Sorry, apologies for that.
Right, okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Library Trustees meeting. I'm Heather Scott and I'm chairman of the Trustees group. We'll go around, I'll introduce everybody, seeing obviously we're streaming because some of the public may not know all the officers involved. So if I can start with Susie.
Good morning, everyone. Susie Hill, Library Manager.
Yvonne.
Yvonne Richardson, Library Trustee.
Matthew.
I'm Matt Roach, Independent Library Trustee as well.
Mike.
Morning, everyone. I'm Mike Crawshaw. I'm Head of Heritage and Culture with Darlington Borough Council.
Elizabeth.
I'm Liz Dodds and I'm also an Independent Trustee.
Luke.
Morning, I'm Luke Swinhoe. I'm the Council's Assistant Director, Law and Governance, and I'm happy to be at this meeting.
Christopher.
Hi, I'm Chris Means from Darlington Borough Council. I'm the Towns Fund Programme Manager.
Thank you. And Lynn?
I'm Lynn Wood, I'm working Democratic Services and I'm clerking the meeting.
Thank you, Lynn. Apologies, we've had apologies from Ian Thompson. No more apologies, Lynn?
No, that's it.
Thank you very much indeed. The next item on the agenda are the minutes of the meeting which were held on the 23rd of October 2020. I presume everybody has got a copy of those minutes. Can I ask that they are a correct record?
Yeah.
Yes.
We agree. Thank you very much. Are there any matters arising from the minutes? Does anybody want to have any comments on them?
Not from me.
I think if I could just comment, I think today is the last day of the 135th anniversary. Tomorrow is the 136th. And I think, again, it's another milestone and we've still got the library here. The library is operating very successfully. And I think certainly through COVID and the support that we gave to the community delivering library books was really, really very well appreciated. So thank you, Susie, to the team and everything that you did. If there are no other comments, can we move on? The next item on the agenda is you, Susie. So over to you.
Thanks, Heather. I'm going to try now and share my screen. Okay, if someone can let me know if that's working, if you can see a nice blue screen. Is that a thumbs up?
Yes, Susie, got that.
Yes, I can see that. Could I ask other people? Oh, I think everybody is on mute, just so we don't get any interference during Susie's presentation.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm here as Library Manager, and I'd just like to give a short update on what's been happening at our libraries over the last year. It's been another funny year, negotiating ourselves around lockdowns and isolations. Restricting access to our building isn't natural to us. We like to have our open doors, a warm welcome, plenty of activity going on. So COVID and the subsequent restrictions are disappointing for us to have to implement and enforce. And it seems to go against what the heart of a library really is. However, we're following the pathways to opening back up, and we're taking into account the safety advice from DCMS and the health and safety team. We're also considering the comfort levels of staff, customers, and the wider public, and we're slowly but surely bringing back elements of library provision. Before I share some statistics with you, I'd just like to take you back to the beginning of last year and tell you a little bit about how the pandemic affected our libraries. So in March 2020, as per government guidelines, we closed the doors to the public and we remained closed for 3 months. In July, we opened on reduced hours for quick pick borrowing only. Advice was to remove furniture, to create space for people and for us to reduce human contact as much as possible and to reduce dwell time. Now, all of these things are great for reducing the spread of coronavirus, but they're not so good for encouraging library usage and providing customers with that positive and personal experience we like to give. But since then, we've been in and out of lockdowns. We've reintroduced some computer use and some study spaces. We've now got local studies and the gallery back open. So most functions of our library are now accessible. However, we're simply not able to do the actual engagement that we'd like to. Sessions, events and activities, they're only just starting to appear. And we, like others, are taking a really kind of cautious approach. So we expected performance statistics to go down this year. It was an absolute given as we were closed and then we weren't operating how we normally would. But we did do some things a little bit differently. We added some different initiatives. We provided things in a different way. And overall, I'm actually relatively happy with what we've managed to achieve in these circumstances. So in terms of performance for 2020-2021, we saw just 16% of the footfall at Darlington Library we saw the previous year. So there were only 28,295 visitors throughout our doors last year. Now this compares to a fairly kind of static number of around 177,000 the previous year. Now we obviously put this down to the lockdowns, the closures, uncertainty and the way in which all of us had to live and work that year. Despite this, we only saw a drop of 40% in our physical issues, which I was really, really happy with. So this includes, it takes into account our children and adult book stock and the audio books, so those physical items. Now, I think we can take a confident view that those 28,000 visitors don't account for the 60% of borrowing that we managed to maintain, which tells us that the initiatives we implemented had a positive effect on borrowing, i.e. we managed to reach people in a different way. So I'd attribute that to a few things. Firstly, we reached people within their homes through that home delivery service. We're currently still reaching around 270 households. That service is offered to those aged 60 and over, and we're committed to maintaining that service. It's become one of our favourites to deliver on. Our school offer, where we deliver books around curriculum subjects for class borrowing. We put it down to the initiatives we used around reading for good mental health and over Christmas. We believe this led to people borrowing. The select and collect service we implemented, that helped people to keep borrowing a little bit more safely in COVID times. And that the removal of the fines, the reservation charges and hire charges, that made a positive difference to us. And also that the work we did on the library app and the website, the social media channels and through leaflet distribution, all this kind of thing helped to raise the profile. And although we didn't have the footfall, the borrowing didn't see too big a hit. So that feels like a little bit positive for us. Now the pandemic really did highlight our digital offer, with more people accessing our ebooks, our online audiobooks, magazines, newspapers. Our digital borrowing increased by 140%. This followed a 97% increase from the year before. So these are looking really, really good. I do foresee a potential drop in these figures due to some changes in the app supplier, and I'm sure there'll be some subsequent loss of custom. But this is something we can pick up over time with our outward facing engagement work and hopefully keep those figures good. I remember sitting here last year with you all speaking about the previous year's performance and knowing that we were about to see this sharp decline in our figures due to the pandemic. However, I've been really, really happy with what we've managed to achieve and the way the staff have adapted. And despite the limitations imposed on the service, there've been some really outstanding efforts from the team to support our residents and keep people happy, healthy, reading for enjoyment, all those key library things. I love to showcase positive stories from libraries, so I'll move on to some kind of nice things that we've been doing. The Summer Reading Challenge. The annual Summer Reading Challenge is something we always deliver on, but this year we did do things a little bit differently. It was partly due to COVID and partly due to us expecting interruptions from the refurbishment, but we didn't buy into the National Summer Reading Challenge this year. Instead, we created our own, the Reading Roller Coaster, which you can see in front of you there. We asked children aged 0 to 16 years to visit either of our libraries over the summer holidays and to borrow a book or some books. And this allowed them to enter their name into a draw to be in with a chance of winning some fantastic prizes. We received 2,391 entries from 699 different children this year. Now that compares to 2,078 entries from 1,013 children joining the challenge in 2019. You'll notice I've skipped out 2020 there because it was such a funny year with COVID. So I've compared our last usual year. These statistics are really, really interesting for us to interpret. This year, the prizes were phenomenal. We wanted prizes that people would really talk about, would be excited about, and that would ultimately bring children of all ages back in our buildings, borrowing and reading books. But on the flip side, in previous years, we've usually offered this outstanding events and activity programme alongside the challenge, which would bring families in for maybe as a drawing workshop or some crafts, a bit of magic, something like that. But once they're in the building, they're then engaged and we can lead them on to the challenge. We can lead them on to borrowing books as the secondary activity. This year, we had no such programming. Now, certainly I would consider that the lack of activity this year negatively impacted how many children joined the challenge. But the prizes and the incentives being of a higher value and quality seem to have still kept over half of the number of participants. And these children actually visited more often and therefore read more regularly. So certainly when we're in a position to have a full events programme, I'd really like to complement this with a similar incentive scheme so that we really maximise the opportunities that a summer reading challenge can bring. Ultimately, as a service, we want to welcome as many children as we can and for these children to read regularly. Some nice photos here. These are some of the photos from the prize giving evening. There's some gorgeous ones. The portfolio member for children and young people, John Clark, he came over and he kindly hosted the evening for us, and he was the one that gifted the prizes to our winners. Little smiley faces there. As you can see, we had a range of ages who won prizes. The littlest was age 1, and the oldest winner was 13. So a really, really nice age group there. And I think we'll come to a photo where we've got nearly all the winners in. There we are. That's all the winners that managed to make the prize giving evening. Now, this year, to help spread the word about our challenge, we recruited some VIP readers to share a book to camera. So we managed to recruit our MP, Peter Gibson, and the Mayor, our portfolio member for children and young people, John Clark. We had head teachers from various schools, you know, just to name a few. The idea was simply to have some recognisable faces reading books to children on our social media pages, thereby raising the profile of the library and the Summer Reading Challenge. B, we wanted them to showcase fun stories, having fun story times for families to kind of dip into whilst they're at home. And C, we hoped by children, for example, seeing their head teacher reading at the library, that this would help them to see the magic that books can bring and perhaps inspire them to visit and do the same. We then offered incentives for children to record their own reading to camera. So they sat on one of our wonderful, colourful book benches. They chose a book from stock and they read it, or they showed us the pictures. And this was uploaded onto our Facebook page to further spread the word about libraries, the books, the challenge. Now, technology being compliant, hopefully you can see little Mary there reading her book to camera. She was just one of the children who felt inspired to read their story to camera in the library after watching some of our VIP readers doing the same. Now, during the school year, we created and offered a scheme called 100 Books to Read Before You Are 11. We created the book list, we ordered the stock, and we created some branded resources, which we then offered as a package to schools to target. We were looking at initially Year 5 pupils and encouraged them between their class or year group to read all these 100 books. We had 4 schools initially take part. That was Herworth, Redhall, Holy Family and Gurney Pease. Teachers told us that children were really enthused and excited to read the books, and they shared verbal reviews of the books with their peers. And Darlington Hippodrome kindly offered these children tickets to see Dragons and Mythical Beasts as a well done. And we're now in the process of recruiting schools for this year, and we've so far got 4 on board, I believe. Moving on to some things that we did for adults, Job Club and digital support. We've reopened our course area in the library, and we've made this available to partners from the Morrison's Trust, Step Forward Tees Valley, Humankind Charity and Learning and Skills. With their fabulous support, the library now offers group and one-to-one IT support, as well as one-to-one job support. So that might be help with job searches, writing CVs, that kind of thing. The reminiscence boxes, we've put together a selection of reminiscence boxes which are available to borrow and are aimed at increasing discussion and helping to stir memories. If these are well received, we intend to extend that offer. And lastly, I'm absolutely delighted to tell you that we've begun a modest refurbishment of our branch library. Now, Cockerton was 50 years old last September, and our beloved branch really needed some TLC. So October has seen the work start with some new windows, new flooring, and redecoration throughout. We've relocated the computers to leave a large space in the centre of the library, which better showcases the architecture of the building, and it creates room for activity to take place. Darlington Library will undergo its programme of refurbishment and restoration, which Mike will talk a little bit more about. Whilst this is underway, our team can visit venues out in the community, help raising the profile of our service and showcasing all of the offers that the library can give. That's all from me, everyone. I'll close that down, and thank you very much for your time listening.
Thank you, Susie. Does anybody have any questions or comments to Susie? Yes, Elizabeth.
Yeah, just first of all, fantastic presentation, really, really interesting. I just wondered, post-pandemic, which are the key initiatives that you feel that you want to continue, and how you might adapt some of those to encourage more people to actually come into the physical building, seeing as, you know, that's obviously something that as an independent trustee I'm really keen to do.
Yeah. The key thing for the moment is bringing back the activity. That's the one thing that we haven't yet been able to really successfully do. We're making little indents in there, but that's what we really need to bring back. So we've got people in for the functions of the actual spaces. So the lending libraries are open, there's computer use, local studies, the gallery, and that brings in the people who are really interested in those areas. But to diversify the audiences, we want to put activity on that will bring in other people. So the key thing really is for us to safely bring back activity, and that's what we've begun that process, and it's trying to make that work and extend on it and build. In terms of bringing people back into the physical space, there's a bit of both there, really. The people that we're delivering to at home, if they don't need to come in and don't have a drive to come in, some of these people are housebound. I actually think it's a really positive thing that we go to them, and they're having a really good experience with that. I haven't heard, I mean, touch wood, I'm saying this out into the ether, but we haven't had anything negative come back from the home delivery service. We're reaching people in partnership with Darlington Support. They've been absolutely fantastic. And the staff member that's a key driver around that scheme, she really does put her heart and soul into choosing books every month that people will like, and she has phone calls with them, so there's little points of contact along the way, so it's a real kind of personal service. And if that works for those people at home, I'm actually quite happy with that. But in terms of bringing people into the building, the key thing is going to be the refurbishment. While the building is undergoing that refurbishment programme, our staff can be going out into the community and talking about what we do and showing them that we, you know, some people's perceptions of library, we can maybe hopefully change that alongside this outreach work. And when we can unveil this wonderful restored and reinvigorated building, who's not going to want to come to that?
I am actually delighted that the home delivery is going to continue, because I agree with it. For people who can't get in, it's a fantastic service. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Matthew?
Thank you, Chair. So a brilliant presentation, Susie. Really great to see all the fantastic work that you and your team have done, particularly during COVID, which has been really difficult and challenging. Although our main duty is obviously the building, it's great to see the sort of outreach stuff that you're doing, and it's great just to sort of say that, pick up on Liz's point, that you're able to continue with the home service. The stuff with schools is really important as well. I think, I mean, we know that 3 in 10 children don't have access to books in their house, and it was really, I think the 100 reading challenge was really good, and my daughter took part of that, so that was really positive. So you know, are the plans to continue post-pandemic with those kind of the sort of delivery box, you know, the box service and other services for schools, and maybe extend it to nurseries, seeing that we don't have the mobile library anymore?
Sorry, Matthew, was that expand to nurseries? Yeah. So in terms of the school offer, right at the beginning of lockdown, we put together boxes that we offered people. Do you remember the schools were only taking key workers children in, so they had kind of to think on their feet about what they were delivering. So we offered them boxes, so if all kids were in the hall or something, they could be utilised as they saw fit. And we've continued with that, but we've actually kind of specialised a little bit. So we've liaised with the schools what content they'd like in the boxes, and we've linked it in with curriculum topics and expanded the non-fiction collection of junior stock to tie in with what those schools like. And again, that's slowly but surely expanding. The 100 book challenge, I'm really pleased. There's someone I've heard that they've enjoyed it. That's definitely the feedback from schools, is that it's allowed children of all abilities to join in. It didn't matter whether one child read 20 books and one child only read 1. They all contributed to that team effort of reading a variety of books. And the books we chose were purposefully wide-ranging. We had, for year 5 kids, we still had the Gruffalo in there. If you had a really reluctant reader, pick up a picture book and, you know, get back to that, you know, sitting on parent knee with a nice book. The nursery boxes we actually have done for a long time under the name of it's kind of a different scheme name through Book Start, and you are right, it used to be the mobile library that delivered that scheme, but we do the scheme, we have continued it just with our van, so the nurseries still have that scheme accessible to them, which they can tie in with. Sometimes it's actually easier with the van, because if you're going to somewhere like Highbank Nursery or something and it's up that little hill with the snow, it's sometimes a little bit easier to get to in the van rather than the mobile.
Thanks, Susie.
Thank you.
Yvonne?
Susie, that was amazing. I haven't stopped smiling the whole way through it, especially getting children engaged with books early on, you know, before they go to secondary school. Fantastic. I just want to thank the staff, especially you, but everybody. It's been such a turbulent time, and it still is going to be with all the renovations. They're always there, they're always helpful, and the library is nothing without the staff. The staff bring everything to life, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Yvonne. I'll pass that on. I have to say, I cannot take credit for these things. We've got a fabulous team, and they've all got different strengths, and the thing that really comes home is they all care. We're all looking at the same outcome, and they all really do care.
Thank you. Anybody else? If I could just add my comments as well, Susie. Absolutely fantastic presentation, and all the work that you have done through the very difficult period. And I'd just like to add as well the number of people who've said to me how much they appreciate the delivery service. And I think, as you say, people who got used to it, they will probably want to continue with it rather than coming into the library. I just wondered whether very many people in the rural areas had taken advantage of that, because I think that was one of the issues when the mobile library ended, that was a difficult area to get to, and whether we're doing anything with the community associations within the rural villages.
That's a really good point, Heather. I know we deliver to anyone with a Darlington postcode who requests it, so we'll put that in our schedule. I don't have statistics in front of me that would tell me whether we have actually got customers in all those areas, but they're certainly eligible for the scheme.
I think that's something with our rural councillors. We maybe will ask them to promote that. And secondly, I think it's extremely important that we are getting children at a very early age. And as you know, John Clark is very enthusiastic about that, really takes it as one of his priorities. So I think, that we will support you going forward on activities and so forth, getting people back in. But I think recognising that once the refurbishment starts, it is going to be difficult. And perhaps maybe, you're talking about outreaches. We've got some very active community associations, and I know Mike's been involved with them during the summer with the summer play schemes and so forth. Maybe we could link into those venues while the refurbishments are taking place, because I think it's extremely important to get young people reading at a very early age. Congratulations to you and all the team. And obviously I know Mike knows this as cabinet and so forth. Anything we can do to support you going forward through the refurbishments, we will do that. Mike, you've put your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. It was just a follow-up to that point around the community settings. Susie did some work because we've rolled out the Holiday Activities Fund through the Department of Education, what some people call the Marcus Rashford programme for children throughout the borough who are eligible for free school meals. We've obviously been delivering that in a whole range of settings, and we've committed to doing that for the lifetime of the scheme. Susie you delivered some stuff for us, didn't you, Susie, around authors going out to settings and engaging the children, telling their own stories. Now, what we'll be able to do within the restored building at Crown Street is, which will be a better option for us, we'll be able to bring those children during the holiday programmes into the town, so that they're coming out of their own communities, whether that's over at North Road, Oscar Park or Red Hall, all different areas we're working with, and then we'll engage directly with the building as well as what's going on. So that's in the schedule for next year.
Thanks, Mike. So does anybody else want to add anything? But just well done, Susie, and carry on the good work, and we're all with you.
Thank you very much. Lovely, kind comments. Much appreciated.
Okay. It's you next, Mike, on the refurbishment.
Right. Thank you, Heather. Right. Well, refurbishment, restoration. I've got to confess, this hasn't been the most straightforward scheme over the last 12 months for us to progress. And I'm sure some of you have read about that to a greater or larger extent, or had some information. But if I could just give you a position statement, and then certainly the key next steps, which are very positive, thankfully, and then I'll take any questions. No problem at all. So when we met as a group this time last year, we were very hopeful that we would be going through the tender process on the key areas of the contract to restore Crown Street Library and be able to get underway during the course of the year and have the bulk or a large part of the work done by now. Clearly that hasn't been possible, and there's been several reasons for that, but the overriding reason has been around the complications we've had with the scaffold design for the roof. When we embarked on this, we knew it was going to be a challenge. However, we engaged with a number of scaffold and roofing contractors And as the feasibility work went on, it was clear that this wasn't going to be a straightforward exercise. And there's several reasons for that. One was the design that was going to be required and the complications of the glass that is inset in a number of areas of the roof. The proximity to the Sports Direct building, the prefabricated building there, which put limitations on how we could design the scaffold, and the structural engineer that we've engaged was advising on that very strongly. And also the road closures and the condition of the pavement and the ability underneath the pavement to withstand the types of loadings that were going to be required for the scaffold. So clearly there was a bit of an issue we've had a bit of an issue with availability or willingness of roofing contractors to take this on. As we've all read, the construction industry has had lots of issues to deal with itself, and there's clearly a huge amount of work going on. So this process to determine what was the safest and most appropriate, cost-effective way to do the job has been an elongated process. I'm glad to say that we're now in a position where we've got tenders have now come in on the final design that the structural engineer is satisfied with. That was the most important feature here, the ability to carry the job out safely. And we fully expect that during November that work will start on site and that scaffold will go up. The programme of work we're now comfortable is going to be between 12 and 13 months to complete all of the work on the roof and the rest of the refurbishment through the building that we've identified is required. So that's everything from renewal of the boilers, the mechanical and electrical installations, a wholesale dealing with all of the issues that you've seen around that we've got with damp in some of the key areas of the building. Those issues are coming from the roofing problems that we've got. So that will be dealt with by the roof and the redecoration and sorting that out. And then there is all of the, I suppose, the front of house improvements around floor coverings, the improvements in digital access, the comfort level in the libraries, and some fit out there. So yeah, it's been a bit of it's certainly been a challenging scheme, and the technicalities of the roofing layout and the scaffold design required for that have been the biggest single challenge, unquestionably. But we've got to a point where that is both affordable and in safety terms, that it's possible for us to carry that out. So what you will see next week, you'll see in the press, if not before, it might come in over the weekend, but certainly next week, you'll see the road closure order published, because clearly this is going to mean some disruption on Crown Street. We've been liaising with transport providers because obviously that brings some disruption in the town centre there, but it's you know, it's unavoidable to do the job. So you will see that published, and then over the next few weeks you'll physically start to see that scaffold go up and the work commence on renewing the roof or re-roofing the library in the heritage style that you know, it currently is. So that's where we are. We've certainly got a few more grey hairs as a result of this one. However, the prize ultimately is going to be a restored Darlington Library, which is going to be wonderful for all of us. So that's where we go. One just final point to add from me before I take any questions there. In terms of supplementing the budget for the work, Susie's made a successful round one application to the Arts Council's Libraries Improvement Fund. It's about £200,000, Susie, just over. That was successful at phase one, so Susie's then developed with a colleague of ours a much more detailed bid that will add value to the scheme. What that will do is it will give us more digital resources, which obviously is very important now. It will also make a big contribution to the reminiscence area that we've got identified within that overall refurbishment. So what was the old ladies' reading room, as people might know it, and that reminiscence space, quiet space for people to read, it will contribute to there, particularly around supporting visitors with dementia. So that's a big part of the bid there. Keep me right, Susie. What else is within the scope of that bid?
Yeah, it's the digital infrastructure, so Wi-Fi connectivity, improved workstations, and hopefully, if we're successful, an area where we can really engage people in kind of STEM activities.
Thank you. So we're very hopeful of that. We'll get a decision quite soon, and we're hopeful that that's going to add some further value to the scheme. So that's where we are. More than happy to take any questions from the group.
Does anybody have any questions to Mike? Yes, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you for that, Mike, and you know, congratulations on kind of working through all the difficulties. It always seems to be scaffolding that kind of makes these schemes really difficult. So it's good that we've kind of got through them. A couple of things. One is, before the meeting, I asked whether we could have a bit of an update on the sort of larger regeneration plans, physical regeneration plans for that area and the impact on the building. And the second sort of point is, I know you're all really busy, but it would be really useful as trustees to be able to have a report ahead of the meeting, primarily around the physical building, because that's kind of what we're here for, and that will allow us more time to think about it. Although obviously we've seen things in the press and so on, so it just gives us a better opportunity to think about you know, the building and the legacy of peace. So yeah, that would be good for the future.
No problem at all, Matt. Yeah, I understand that, and I can table that certainly for those future meetings. That's fine. In terms of the update on the surrounding area and that conservation area more broadly in the town centre, I've invited Chris to the meeting today because I saw that was one of the questions that were tabled in advance. And Chris, because he's leading on that project as a whole, he's going to give us a short presentation on Northern Echo building, surrounding areas, and how that will develop in terms of the context of the overall library building offer. So Chris is going to do that for us whenever you're ready.
Yeah. I've got two other people with questions, Christopher, just before you come in. Yvonne first and then Elizabeth.
Thanks, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Yvonne, yes.
Right. First of all, thanks so much about the reading room. That's been it's the ace in the pack for the library to me. It's such a beautiful space, and it's of its time, and so I'm really pleased about that. Also, the building will become more, as we go on, an icon of the town, along with the other things. So leading up to 2025, and also in conjunction with an astounding report in the Daily Mail today about property prices, and comparing Darlington as the cheapest property in the country, comparing it with Kensington, which is the most expensive, and linking that with Rishi Sunak. A lovely report, but I imagine that is going to be a honeypot. And the library, out of all, you know, as we all know, from 2016, so many iconic libraries have closed down and been shut down. And so I think increasingly Darlington's investment in this icon, in our culture, in reading, in all those things, will be such an amazing attraction to add to all the other attractions we've got. So just well done. And I think it's just going to be a roller coaster and more exciting. But in particular, we need to think about 2025 as well, because that's the link, and I'm sure you've got it on your agenda, but I'm just really interested in the link with the railways and the Quakers and things.
No problem. If I could just come back quickly on that, Yvonne, in terms of the bicentenary celebrations, absolutely, we're right in the midst of developing all of the ideas around what's possible with a whole range of partners for the bicentenary year, and we're working directly with Tees Valley Combined Authority and the Arts Council England around what's possible for that. So Arts Council England have expressed a real keenness to support the celebrations within that year, right along the line, including ourselves centrally in Darlington. So we're developing that with Nicola Burden from Arts Council now.
Fantastic, brilliant, thank you.
Elizabeth?
Hi, thank you, and thanks, Mike. It was really, really interesting, very, very encouraging. And it is these sort of small things, well, I say small, very large things like scaffolding that can often sort of hold up these buildings, and I think it's not necessarily widely known. So thank you for that. Really, again, just something for future meetings. I assume that the library overall has some kind of plan for the future in terms of becoming more sustainable.
Yes.
So it would be really helpful, I think, for sort of future meetings, if the aspects of that relate to the building, if we could have a report on that as we go forward. And I know it's the it really is the subject of the moment. So I know that you will have plans and have, you know, future developments in mind, but I think it would be really helpful to understand what those are.
Certainly, Elizabeth. I mean, I've got on screen, because I saw that note come in prior to the meeting. Luke circulated that. In terms of the whole environmental sustainability of that building and everything else within our estate as an organisation, members committed to a climate change, and you might have seen this previously, a climate change commitment. So we've got a strategy for that as an organisation, which includes all of our key buildings. I'll just share something with you now. Hang on a sec. Can you see that there just on screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, Elizabeth, there's a strategy for how we will develop on our own reduction in emissions. It's a long-term strategy between now and 2050, but that includes obviously some very short-term aims around our buildings, how we reduce our carbon footprint within them, and all of our key capital schemes, including this one, have got very key or very clear rather goals around how we will meet our sustainability objectives. So they're all listed strategically here. This document is available online, but there is a lot of finer detail, I suppose. The best examples in the Crown Street building are things like the change of the boilers, for example, because at the moment we've got a heating system that is literally 40 years old, which has been getting by on a bit of a wing and a prayer, and clearly is not the most efficient use of energy. So the renewal of that, the renewal of the technology in the building, the retention of heat within the building because it will be re-roofed properly, etc. So all of those individual components within the scheme are within the scope of that broader kind of climate change commitment that we've made organisationally. So I can bring an update as well as the report Matt referred to there. We'll bring a discrete section that talks about how we're meeting our environmental commitments, because that's going to be really important for all of us, isn't it? So yeah, we can do that, but that's the framework that we're working within.
Perfect, thank you.
Right, over to you, Christopher, to talk about all the exciting plans that we've got for this area.
How long have you got? Thanks very much, Heather. And thanks for that. It's good to listen into all the stuff about the library. I mean, as far as the library development goes, I'm aware that it's happening, but I haven't been involved directly very much with the library development. I thought what I'd do is I'll give a short overview of the Towns Fund. Sorry, Yvonne, I know you've seen these before, but it's an update of of where we are overall, and then go into a little bit more detail in some of the stuff like the Northern Echo building next door. And then I can talk a little bit about what we've done to date on the Exports Direct building, and maybe what we might do on that site in the future, and how that might tie in. And interesting as well, I've seen we've had a fair few discussions recently about Heritage Trail and all that involves, and it seems there's so much to pick up on the Heritage Trail, and certainly the library and around that area needs to be involved in that and as part of that. So if I put a presentation up, which isn't library specific, but it'll give the setting. Find it, hopefully. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what we've been doing in the town, we got £1 million about a year ago now, and we've been spending that £1 million, I think, hopefully wisely. Roughly 50% of it has went into the yards and some of the work that we're doing up there at Buckton's and Clark's Yard. And if you've been in the town, you might have seen some of the improvements that we've done there, some of the colours, bright colours, and it says it's coming to a conclusion. What all that means is we're drawing a line under the phase 1, and we're moving now into the bigger project for the yards, which includes Skinnergate as well. So the town centre lighting, so the biggest ones there that we've done are the clock tower and the improvements to the lighting on St Cuthbert's Church, which is not a million miles away from the library. And then the town centre Wi-Fi, so there should be free Wi-Fi outside of the library and in all of the town centre and up Victoria Road. And we've acquired one of the properties, as Yvonne knows, up in what is Edward Pease House, and there's 3 more to get there, plus the main Northgate Tower. So this is some of the planting we've done up in Clark's Yard. That's actually Buckton's Yard, that one. And you'll have noticed in Post House Wines some of the stripes that we're putting above the building, like them all of them. It's certainly, you know, it's a bit of a Marmite thing. I personally think they're really tidy and impressive. That will continue up Post House Wine, that sort of theme. We're developing a different theme in Post House Wine and the yards and into Skinnergate. Each is very close, but a different area. I can send this through and provide this at the end of the meeting. There is an improved website, and that website will continue to improve, and each of the different projects within the Towns Fund will start to get its own page with information. So what the town deal is, on top of that £1 million that we got last year, we secured 22.3 million. And that's for across Northgate, the town centre, the college site and Victoria Road up to the station. So what we've been doing is we'll have to complete a business case for each of the 9 projects within the town fund and submit the summaries to government. And we've got a deadline now of the 30th of November. We submitted 6. This is where we're at. So we submitted 6 of them. 3 of them previously, which are the Adult Skills Project, which is in the Northern Echo building, the T-Levels Project, which is the new academic qualifications, and that's based at the college, and the Skinnergate and the Yards Project. So this is the money that we've got in our bank account to date. There's more money to come on these projects. This is for 21-22. We'll be getting an extra 900 advance funding this week, hopefully today, and then we'll put in the further funding for this year will come in March, and that'll be following dependent on the business cases. There shouldn't be any particular problem with the business cases. It's not a tick in the box by any means. They're quite demanding, but we do have to do them before we can release the money. So the T-Levels project, the college are delivering this with our input, and there's a funding agreement being put in place between the council and the college. We've got a project officer who's sitting on the project team, and Kate Rowe, the the principal at the college is the deputy director of the Towns Board. That was by chance more than anything else. But that project is getting quite well developed. The advancing in the design, and they're hoping to get out on the site probably March time next year. And that'll be, they're starting to do the T-levels from September 2022. So there's a pressure there to get that delivered. The adult skills project, now I will come back to this, we'll jump through and then I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the adult skills project. So we've got 575 last year and 490,000 so far in this financial year, and that's to purchase the Northern Echo building and essentially do the refurbishment of the ground floor of the building. It's going to get in the yards, so we've been doing phase 1 around the town. We're now moving into the wider scheme, which is the 3 elements to it, which is the public realm and highway. So we're just about to embark on a fairly comprehensive engagement for the highway works. We're working with groundwork, and there'll be an invite going out and presence in the town by groundwork to talk about our ideas for Skinnergate and Connerscliffe Road, even going around the corner. That'll look at things like the cafe culture and how the road works, how the road looks like, trying to knit together Duke Street and Grange Road and Skinnergate and the yards and pull that down into the marketplace. We've also got the residential scheme, which is got planning approval. We're going through a tender and get the design. That's looking at the old August building and the building which has got scaffold up. That's that area, backing onto Raby Street at the back. And we're also looking at a continuation of property enhancements right the way along Skinnergate, and that can range anything as little as a bit of paint or a bit of nice professional sign writing, right the way up to new shop fronts, potential acquisitions, who knows. It's a very flexible scheme, and we're working with businesses and all the landlords along the roads as far as we can. So that's a separate engagement tied in with the highways. So it's a 3-part scheme. It's quite involved. This is a bit of a summary on the other 6 schemes. So the Real Heritage Quarter, you know about that scheme. The Towns Fund is working with that. The Bank Top and the Railway Scheme, again, the Towns Fund is contributing to some of the works on the west side of the station, up at the top of Victoria Road. And the other ones, we call them projects. It's really a massive project area. You've got Victoria Road and seeing what we can do there. But this North Road, Linear Park, Skern Valley, Edward Pease House, that's really looking at Northgate House, and we've done a master plan for the Northgate House area and the property along Gladstone Street. We've also done a conservation area master plan for all the way up North Road, right the way up to the Skern Bridge, and across the Skern, in that very mixed use area that exists there. I mean, that is the business case which I'm struggling with at the minute, but we will get there by next week. And it's looking to see how the Town Fund can become a catalyst for redevelopment and improvement of that area. We've only got £2 million for that area, and you could spend 102 million easy up there. But it's the Towns Fund as the catalyst, but we're also looking at that area as being potentially part of our Levelling Up Fund bid, and that would build upon the work of the Towns Fund, and again, it will generate interest in the wider area up Northgate. So what we're at in the town deal, the Towns Fund, what we're doing is we're finishing these business cases off. We will then look to get agreement of the Towns Board and our Section 151 officer within the council, and get agreement and approval to issue the summary documents to the Department for Levelling Up and Housing and Communities. Sorry, it's the new ministry led by Michael Gove. And once I get this out the way and we get these in, it'll then really free up my time and free up time to launch into the engagement and the project development and the delivery. We've been doing some of that. We've been doing this, and we've been doing some delivery. It'll ramp up in the new year to really that's the next stage. So that is a quick run through that. And if I talk a little bit more about the adult skills, I'll take that off the screen. Okay, so it's always been the back of my mind, and really it will come more to the forefront, the link that can be created between the library and the stuff you were talking, Susie, about all the digital skills and the STEM and all of that fits in with what the college are trying to do on the T levels. But the college are going to have a presence within the Echo building. So you're just across the road. The work that we're going to be doing, and we're just about to acquire the building. It's just with solicitors now. I know, Luke. It's just going through the final stages there. We've also got an appointment to make for an architect, a designer, and we've been through a tender process. I just need to press the button as soon as we fully know the building is ours. I can press the button and we'll get the architect on board. We've also got colleagues in education, Tony Murphy and Kate Rowe and Paul Richardson have been working on a report which will set some of the boundaries and the definitions of what it means to be an adult skills facility. That term adult skills doesn't do it justice anymore. It's really looking at the building as its flexibility and no wrong door, a revolving door approach. So you've got employers, you've got educators, all about upskilling. It's not just about helping somebody find a job. It's helping people advance themselves or be signposted to where they can get best help or do education or be an entrepreneur. It's really, we hope to have the staff and the people within that building that can do stuff in the building, but also signpost as well to the likes of the library and potentially the Edward Peace House. And once we get into the Edward Peace House, develop what that'll be, it'll link very much with the Real Heritage Code, and it'll be a museum. We're looking to refurb it as what it was, a Georgian building, and what it is, a Georgian building, but it will have education aspects to it, it'll have community aspects to it, and we need to link that in as well. So I think that in terms of the work and timescales, I've just been sending emails recently and making it clear that we cannot wait until the end of the library project until we start this project, because that's May, June 2023. We need to be working on that and get the skills centre on the ground floor operational before that. So we need to be starting ambitiously looking at. Well, I had a conversation yesterday where I said May, June, but that didn't go down too well. So I've relaxed that a bit to summer 2022 is what I'm aiming to get started on site within the ground floor. The majority of the work will be in the ground floor. I have to stress at the minute, there'll be lots of unknowns within there. It's a bit of a rabbit warren down in the ground floor. I'm sure there'll be lots of problems that we need to overcome, and that'll become clear in the coming months. So as far as the library is concerned and how it works, the initial work that the designer will have to do, he'll take the report that Tony and Kate are doing, he'll take what we've got within the town investment plan and within the towns fund as a starting point. He'll then visit site, and then it'll be all about stakeholder engagement and get the stakeholders together and start to say, what do you want in the building? How is it going to work? How we're going to use the space? And at that point, I'll come to you, Susie, and say if you're the best person or if somebody else is the best stakeholder to be involved in that, I'd like you to be involved, and so you know exactly what's going on. So that's during the development, during the build-up of what's going to be in the building. And I think beyond that, the links just need to grow stronger and basically have ideally, a constant to and fro and across the road between people and between staff would be ideal, I think, in my mind. So there's a lot of work to do on the Northern Echo building. We've got an iconic building. We've got the money. We've got the will, certainly political will within Heather in her members within the council. The MPs solidly behind it. The college is very on board with it, and it's so there's a will, there's the money, there's a building. It's very, very high up on the agenda of central government, all about adult skills. So now is the time we've got to make it happen, really. We have got a subgroup which is all about education and skills as well on the Towns Board, and that's got the chair of the Towns Board, Angela, on. Kate is on it, and we've got Sue from the shopping centre on it, and a couple of other people as well. But that's open, and if there's a space for the library to come on that, I'd be more than happy to welcome you onto the subgroup if you've got time and want to be part of it, Susie. So that's the Northern Echo building and what we're doing. Looking slightly outside of the Towns Fund and looking at what we're doing within the town centre and within the immediate vicinity. There's various sites, as I'm sure you're aware, within the town, over at the back of Queen Street, and we've knocked down the church there in that large car park area. There's lots of stuff going on in the market hall and more to come. There's the Market Square, which is always on the radar, and we've got the area immediately to the back of the library in the Exports Direct site. So the Exports Direct site, we've got planning permission now to demolish, and I think we just need to have a brief conversation on that and then press the button as to when we need to do that, when we want to do it. There's some discussion going on about where the practicalities about where the site office might be for the refurbishment of the library. The plans are at the minute to put it in the Northern Echo building, and I'm just slightly questioning whether that's a good idea, and whether we should be looking at something else. If we want to go in the Northern Echo, then we'll work around it. So the Sports Direct site we'll be getting rid of the shed sooner or later. We've got planning permission to do it. We'll just determine when that's going to happen. Then we'll go out to tender, we'll get the price, and then we'll get it demolished. In terms of what we're going to put on that site, I've got something else which I can bring up with the plan. And I stress before I put these on, these are very early concept plans. They've been nowhere. They've been developed with an economic growth, with space architecture. We've shared them with our housing assistant director of housing. We've had very low-key discussions. I'm not even sure if you've seen these, Heather, yet, so I apologise if I'm going to pull these up. No, I do stress, and I cannot stress strongly enough, that these are just ideas that we could look to develop down there. We are in the early days of starting to develop a report which we might take to Cabinet, Heather, about a JV partner that will look around the town, but again, early days, we'll take that forward. Okay, right. This is from a concept report by Space Architects, who were commissioned to do some high-level work on the site. So it's not in presentation form by any means. So I will flip through some pages. It's quite a large document. I thought this was a good place to start. It just gives the picture of where the library sits and the Sports Direct building, and also the ex-post office building there. You may have noticed that the shopping centre is up on the market for sale. I believe that includes that. So there's discussions to be had on that. There's the Wilco site, which is a potential future site. But this is the site. There's the shed at the back, and this is when it was being used as a car park in the river, the Skern here. And then just off the picture is the route across and potentially up the North Gate and through the Skern Valley. I had a very useful meeting yesterday with Sue Dobson, our transport manager, just looking at where the cycle route and the walking route might be through from the town centre leading up to the Real Heritage Quarter, which is a key priority leading up that route. So we're looking at options to be able, we know what the long-term aim is for the route, but we're looking at plan B to see how achievable that is. And it's actually, I was quite pleased with the outcome of that. But what it means is the route into the town centre for cyclists and walkers going up there is likely to come down onto here and then into the town centre, either up here or across, you know, depending which way people come. But certainly the library has got the potential there to become a focal point as people head up and down the Heritage Trail, which means opening up potentially some of the river here. That gives a bit of a good overview. Bit of a scan down just to. This is just to whet the appetite, and again, I stress that these are just high level. I'm skipping past these plans. There is a number of them, but if I go on to, you know, some of the ambition that we're showing within the designs here, and I think this one here was one that caught my imagination, and it just creates and shows how the library can open up. And I think one of the discussions I've had with Mike and with Susie about sorry, excuse me, is the lack of external space at the library, and the ambition to be able to possibly pull out some external space and really pull the community in. And we talked about this being a bit of a library community park area here. On this particular plan, it shows it opening up here. So you're opening out, and then you've got terraced houses, and then this would be a bit of a, you know, maybe just 3, 4, 5-story apartments here with some parking either side. I'm going to flick down a little bit further just to show some of the other options. That's what it might look like. I told you it was a big document. These architects get carried away when they get. But there's another one, and on this particular one, it shows you the potential for the route coming in along through the Skern, in this area being more of the green area rather than so much up here. So I'll stop there before I get carried away. But I think it's just showing some of the thinking and some of the ideas that's going on around about the library, some of which are more developed than others. The Northern Echo building, I'm sure it should be happening very soon. The building one at the back, there's a lot more miles to go in that, and a lot more discussions to be taken with members and with developers and whoever else. So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I hope it was useful, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. So thanks, lots of detail there, Chris. Thank you. I guess it's really good to see the sort of potential opportunities in terms of the development surrounding the library building, in terms of, you know, both kind of linking in with kind of sort of adult skills, but also kind of the potential for opening up into sort of outdoor space, which I think it would be tremendous for the library building. So thanks very much for that. I think it'd be really useful as trustees to be just kept updated on these kind of, not you know, regularly, but at opportune moments, and for us to be able to have an input at particular times, particularly when there's kind of crunch points in terms of developments, because clearly, you know, we're obviously very interested in how sympathetic development is to the library building, to its access, to, you know, to the visual, you know, to the visuals of this historic building and so on. So when the time is right, I think that would be useful for the trustees. So thank you for your
yes, of course, happy to do so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments? Well, if I thank you. Oh, Susie.
Yeah, just to say the plans look really exciting. We'd absolutely, I mean, we had a bit of a chat, didn't we, Chris? But we'd really welcome the opportunity to link in that outdoor space and create, you know, outdoor space with stories and imagination and a library link. So thank you for keeping that in consideration.
No, you're welcome. It's a good and exciting little scheme, which I'm keen to keep plugging away in. It'll move forward, I'm sure, in leaps and bounds. These things slow down, and then they'll gather a pace again, and before you know it, it'll be back on the table. So we've done the work. It was good work done by Steve.
Yvonne?
Just to mention the library and all its many treasures, but key among them for many people is local studies and all the archives and everything. And so if that could be somehow included and brought into, because it does take a massive amount of the floor space, and I'm sure the potential to develop that is huge, whether it's in the library or elsewhere, but just to keep that on the table. Well, thanks, Chris, that was fantastic.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, just really echoing what Matthew and Yvonne have said. First of all, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. Really interesting to hear about it and how it all links together. But also, yes, anything that we can do to link with the library within that Northern Echo, and kind of, if not say it as a sort of permanent extension, maybe sort of temporary extension, sort of linking into some of the work, so that we can, as you said, help to kind of draw that traffic both ways, would be fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was good.
Thank you. Right, well, thank you very much indeed, Christopher. Yeah, you give me food for thought, obviously. But it's always interesting to hear the first ideas. The next item is any other business. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to raise? Well, can I just thank you all for your attendance, and thank you to the trustees for your continuing interest. I think we all are dedicated to the library. It's such an iconic building, and it's very well appreciated by the people of the town. Thanks once again, Susie, to all the work that you are doing, and to your staff, and we look forward to seeing you at a future meeting. So thank you very much indeed, and enjoy the rest of the day. I think it just looks sunny out there. It's still a bit chilly. Okay, thank you.